Man, I love chatting with you about this because you have such a unique perspective on it. Because you did go to Nashville, you did sign a publishing deal, you had an artist development deal in Nashville as well. So you were probably churning out those songs that maybe didn't really um, resonate with you personally as an artist, but you had to put what was
Yep.
marketable from the boss's perspective out there. So now, like, you break away from that. Now, I imagine, just based on what I'm hearing from your, your singles and your records, it's more true to who you are as an artist. So that perspective is really unique from where you sit, and I love chatting with you about stuff like this. Um,
Yeah.
how hard was it for you as an artist to kind of, because like you go to Nashville as a youngster, you're 19,
Hmm.
and I imagine, you're going to try to kind of stay within the path that they set for you just because you're young and kind of malleable at the time. How long does it take for you to kind of understand that, you know what, this is not really feeding my soul? I have to get away from this.
Um, Man, I moved to town like a stubborn 19-year-old because I was a stubborn 19
Right.
year old. All those guys that wrote all of Tim and Kenny's hits back in the 90s, and all the guys that wasn't having success anymore, I mean, latched onto me instantly because I came to town knowing Merle Haggard. I came to town knowing George Jones. I came to town waving the flag of, if you're here to pop me up, I ain't your guy. I'm here to do real damn country music. And I was vocal about it. And I signed a publishing and a record deal, very, very quickly. It was within a year, to be honest with you. And if anything, that fueled that cockiness.
Hmm.
But the problem I had was the guy that was, signed me. He loved that I loved George Strait, but the problem was I loved George Strait for Unwound and Down and Out and all these honky tonk songs. He loved George Strait for that James Taylor pop melody side. And so
Yep.
it's just, I always laugh. I had a record called Premium Country that was out that's not even available anymore. But, you know, the big joke I had was my first album was a box set that had like 14 or 16 songs
I
on it.
saw that.
But
Yeah.
it's the reality is it had that many songs because half of it was to make me happy and half of it was to make him happy, And even the reality of it was, man, even that record, it was still country and anything else out, even the songs that I didn't care for. But um, when I finally got to go to radio and really had to dip my head in, I probably didn't help myself a couple of times because radio people would ask you, what do you think about this? And I'm like, it ain't country music, so I don't care.
Hmm.
Where the real response should have been like, well, hey, I'm not here to talk about them. I'm here to talk about me. And so I as that label folded and I kind of got thrown out into Music Row, that was right at the heart of the bro country thing. And I mean, it was birthing. I could see it coming from a mile away, and I wanted to fight it. And one of my best friends was kind of ahead of the curve and made a lot of money as a songwriter writing that stuff and pulled me in on it. And the biggest blessing in disguise is that I was about to have a publishing deal at the same company that he was at. And I was about to have a whole lot of cuts, probably singles, writing a bunch of music that I really couldn't stand. And at the time, it was a curse because I found out that the contracts that I was into were completely screwed and that there was a successor when the company folded and they basically shelled me.
Mm.
And so I couldn't sign the new deal, and all these singles as a songwriter just fell apart. But it forced me to go out and just start touring and getting on the road. And, I thank God I had a buddy named Arliss that just started throwing me on the bus with any act that would let me go out. And I'd sell merch, I'd write. If I had a chance to get on stage and play, I would. I didn't really know what I was getting into. But when I started getting out of this little square called Nashville, I realized that there were people out there that hated this music and were so thankful that I was actually going and wanting to sing real country music. And I mean, even at that point, I can't say it was really, really country. It was as close as I felt I could get at the time. But you talk about that turning point, man. I had a day where I ran into Daryle Singletary, and
Mm.
I had this long hair and was just dressed. I'll call it like it is, dressed like a douchebag, man. And he just looked me up and down and said, "What in the hell are you doing, boy?"
Yeah.
And we had a big heart to heart over a lot of Crown Royal that night. And that was just the day that I said, man, doing it their way has not worked. I moved to town loving a certain kind of music. I moved to town wearing Wranglers and my cowboy hat and saying I would never let that go. So why the hell did I? And so I started unbrainwashing myself, as I call it, man. I had to remember how to write real country songs again. I had to remember how to make content and not just make some hooky, catchy bullshit excuse of a lyric, you know? And the best thing that happened was I signed my second crappy record deal that gave me the chance to team up with Trent Wilmon. And he was just like the big brother I never had, man. Trent gave me I don't know if it's courage or just that nod of yes, it's okay, but whatever it was, it gave me the opportunity to make a record the way I really wanted to make it. And that's when I made Neon Town. And, you know, no one was even using fiddle or steel guitar on as much as a demo or a record. I mean, it was funny. We tracked that whole record in one day and nobody wanted to leave because nobody, you know, I laugh. Everybody's like, you know, Zach Tops, you know, first guy. And I'm like, no, he ain't the first guy. I was doing this stuff a long time ago in Nashville, but nobody wanted to hear it. But I made that record and he teamed me up with Cody and I did a couple of dates with him. And next thing I know, I'm opening up for all these Texas cats. And every night, you know, the artist, a writer, team tour manager, somebody's coming up to me and going, dude, why are you not in Texas? And so after I heard it enough, I came down here. And what I really realized is, man, all the music I loved was Texas country on a mainstream scale. It's exactly what it was.
Yep.
So it verified and validated everything about myself. And it's just, I got down here and I am who I am. And man, if this thing takes off and I'm playing arenas one day, so be it. And if this is as far as it goes, I can say I stayed true to myself and made the music I wanted to make, and I'm making a decent little living at it. So Here we are.
The first thing I want to say, man, gosh, I miss Daryle Singletary, man. He was such a nice dude, very kind, down to earth. We'll tell you exactly how it is.
He didn't shy away, man.
No, not at all, man. If you ask Daryle Singletary a question, you're going to get the truth almost every time, man. And golly, I do miss that guy. What a shock it was when he left us, man. Golly.
Man, it was he had really become a mentor to me, and we had gotten really close. And the ironic part about it all is I got the call that morning that he was gone from my manager, and he said, hey man, I want you to hear this from me before you hear from anybody else. But you know, this happened. And ironically, that was the day I had to go sing the last 2 or 3 songs of that Neon Town record and put the vocals on them.
Wow.
And I remember Bart and Trent were like, man, why don't we just reschedule? I know, you know, and I was like, no, man. I was like, Daryle will come back and whip my butt.
Yeah, he wouldn't want that at all. Yeah.
But that was the day I sang Beer Bucket List.
Wow.
That was the song that started this whole entire thing for me. And so it was just, I don't know, coincidental or whatever it was. It's just, I couldn't believe it. And that's why on that record, we actually did Dim Lights, Thick Smoke, and Loud Music as the acoustic song. You know, we were supposed to have done another one. And I was just like, man, we got to do something for Daryle. I can't just let it be some random song. There's got to be a meaning to it. And I didn't even think about the fact that that was the song of the Fiddle and Steel Guitar Bar, the one and only place that let me come in when I was 19 and moved to town and underage. And, you know, the guy that ran sound, his mom and dad wrote that song. The lyrics to Neon Town is Dim Lights, Thick Smoke, Loud, you know, it just, I don't know. The whole day, it's just weird how it all turned out, but it did.
Good stuff, man. It's so funny. That's one of the things I wanted to chat with you about was, you know, growing up in central Arkansas, you would think that, you know, Texas would be an option for you, but it just never occurred to you, did it? Because, like, they tell you when you want to do country music, you have to go to Nashville. Yep. If you don't make it in Nashville, you're not going to make it anywhere. And
I had never even heard of Texas country when I moved to Nashville, if I'm being honest with you. The first I'd heard of it was, I can't remember the brand. There used to be some brand that was in Western stores, and it was like a Texas thing. And, you know, the shirts kept saying F Nashville or this and that. And I'm like, what is this about? Why are they so mad? You know? And so I looked into Texas country, and of course, you know, what I found was like Cross Canadian, Ragweed, some of those guys, the rockers. And I was like, well, that ain't really nothing I care about. I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. You know, it really, I'd gotten to know Randy Rogers a little bit. We had a friend in common, and, you know, he'd come to Nashville and we'd all hang out. And, you know, he was just always kind of awkward, but, you know, I didn't realize this is a dude that could sell out the Cowboy Stadium in Texas. He's just out there having drinks with us and another guy in Nashville. It's some another artist, you know. And so being around him, I started kind of learning the scene. And, you know, I'll never forget, I heard Me and My Kind over at some dude's house, and I came running in. I went, who the hell is that? And what's that sound he's doing? Because I'm told nobody else does that. And that's when I really, really found Texas. And I was like, all right, there's something to this.
Yeah, I love that.